It's been about a month that has gone by since the NBA's trade deadline, and after all of the big moves that went down, we're settling back into the final push of the season, so trade talk has been put on pause for a bit by NBA franchises, but that doesn't mean that speculation is going to stop in the world of NBA media. Some teams have already shifted their focus towards the offseason because of the fact that they don't have much to play for at the moment, and that's what Bleacher Report tackled in one of their most recent articles. In this video, we'll be analyzing their article they published where they proposed 4 trades that they believe are pretty realistic that could be coming this summer. So as always, I'll be going through each one, discussing the likelihood of them actually happening, who benefits the most from them, and why or why not they would go down. Before we start though, it turns out a good amount of you watching right now aren't even subscribed to the channel, so if you enjoy the content, consider hitting the subscribe button, as not only does it help out a ton, but I'd also very much appreciate it. Now with that being said, let's begin. The first proposed trade from the article that we'll be going over today is between the Atlanta Hawks and the Indiana Pacers, where the Pacers received John Collins in exchange for Chris Duarte, TJ McConnell, Jalen Smith, and a lottery-protected first-round pick. Trade deadline all-star John Collins was of course going to show up in an article with this as the topic because he's been in trade rumors for several years now, but right off the bat I'm looking at this trade and don't see any reason why the Hawks would accept it. John Collins may not be the best fit for what they have going on, and he also very well may not be the happiest in Atlanta, but that doesn't mean that the Hawks would accept a trade where they give him up for pennies on the dollar, because if they were willing to do that, they would have already traded him. The idea here is that the first round pick helps the Hawks replenish their draft capital after giving up a lot of it for DeJounte Murray, but it's lottery protected, and with the Pacers more than likely landing in the lottery this year, that kills off the value of that pick. Then you look at the players involved, and none of them really sway me in any kind of trade for a player that can perform like a near star. McConnell is a feisty backup point guard, but is very limited in how much he can impact a game. Chris Duarte is having a pretty poor second season after a promising rookie campaign, so his value has taken a hit. And Jalen Smith is having a nice redemption arc in Indiana after being given up on by the Suns, but he's not nearly good enough to be the best player in a trade for John Collins. I agree with the notion that the Hawks need depth and more shooting in their rotation, but they can find better than this on the market if they make John Collins available. The next trade proposed in the article that we'll be taking a look at is between the Portland Trail Blazers and the Brooklyn Nets, where the Blazers receive Mikhail Bridges and Royce O'Neal in exchange for Anthony Simons, Shaedon Sharpe, a first-round pick, and a second-round pick. Mikhail Bridges is one of the hottest commodities in the entire league right now, as ever since he was sent to Brooklyn, he's taken on a bigger role offensively and is now shining. As a member of the Nets, he's averaging about 26 points per game, shooting the ball incredibly efficiently across the board, so you can't even make the excuse that he's putting up just empty numbers on a bad team. Looking at this trade offer, it's something that the Blazers maybe should have explored prior to the trade deadline, because with how well Bridges is currently playing, I don't think they have enough in this offer to sway Brooklyn, whereas they might have accepted something along these lines prior to his explosion of production. There were rumors that the Nets were offered several first-round picks for Bridges at the trade deadline, and the Nets turned those offers down, so if that was the benchmark before, then his price is definitely even higher now. Obviously, the Blazers are in desperate need of some defensive help and star power alongside Damian Lillard, especially on the wing, and pairing Bridges with him makes a lot of sense, but Shaedon Sharpe is still very raw as a young talent, and Anthony Simons is a great shooter of the basketball, but a huge liability on defense. The Nets are not going to be rebuilding because of the fact that they don't have any of their own draft picks for the foreseeable future, which means that they want to keep the players that can keep them competitive, and Mikhail raises their ceiling a lot more than Simons does right now, so for me, the Nets say no to this. The next proposal in the article is between the Toronto Raptors and the Memphis Grizzlies, where the Grizzlies receive OG Anunoby in exchange for Tyus Jones, Zaire Williams, 2 first-round picks, and a second-round pick. OG Anunoby was a player most were expecting to be on the move at the trade deadline this year, but the Raptors opted to keep their core together through the end of the season, which may come back to bite them in the long run. They're potentially losing both Fred VanVleet and Gary Trent Jr. in free agency this summer, then Anunoby and Pascal Siakam. Both only have 1 year left on their current contracts, so their value on the trade market takes a big hit as they're both expiring contracts. With that being said though, Anunoby drew a lot of interest a month ago, and that won't change this summer, so when the bidding opens back up for his services, the Raptors should still be able to get a good offer for him, and honestly, I really like this deal a lot for both teams. With the Raptors likely opting to go younger, bringing in a player like Zaire Williams fits the long-term timeline they could be on as a promising raw talent, and if they lose Fred VanVleet, then Tyus Jones is a very savvy veteran to fill in at point guard who has proven he can produce well if given the opportunity to start, as he has started 10 games for the Grizzlies this season and has scored over 20 points in 6 of those games. Then for the Grizzlies, they get to strengthen the weakest spot in their lineup at small forward, especially with Dillon Brooks' contract expiring this summer, so they may be losing him. Anunoby is not only a massive upgrade over Brooks defensively, as one of the best perimeter defenders in the league, but he's also a much better and more efficient scorer on offense who could prove to be the piece that takes the Grizzlies to the top tier of contenders in an open Western Conference. And finally, the last trade proposed in the article is between the New York Knicks and the Chicago Bulls, and in it the Knicks received DeMar DeRozan and Alex Caruso in exchange for RJ Barrett, Obi Toppin, and Isaiah Hartenstein. The Knicks are one of the hottest teams in the NBA right now, playing their best basketball at the perfect time, as the playoffs are right around the corner. They could be a dangerous team for one of the higher seeded teams to have to match up with early on, but even if they don't pull off some upsets this year, they've established themselves as a destination that players will want to go to now, which is a huge step in their process. The Bulls, meanwhile, are sinking fast, and this summer they may be undergoing some big changes. DeMar DeRozan has proven he can still score at a high level, and I can see the appeal for him and the Knicks, but DeRozan only has 1 year left on his current contract, so if they're going to be giving up someone as young and productive as RJ Barrett, they're going to need some reassurance from DeRozan that he's down to sign a contract extension with the team. Trading away Barrett for 1 year of a soon-to-be 34-year-old DeRozan is not worth it at all to me, so that caveat is very important. Even with Julius Randle and Jalen Brunson being high-usage stars for the Knicks, DeRozan would absolutely be worth the upgrade alongside them. They just need more than 1 year as a rental from him for it to be worth the price. And with that being said, that's all I have for you today. Make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and comment down below what you think about these potential trades. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you all next time.